Welcome to Cryptids of Colorado. I'm Benjamin Willis. A cryptid is an unknown or undiscovered animal, and cryptozoology is the research or discovery of these unknown life forms. The Komodo dragon, the short-necked giraffe, and the kraken, or giant squid, were all cryptids and considered mythical beasts until their scientific discovery. Colorado just happens to be home for some of these legendary beasts. Bigfoot is usually associated with the Pacific Northwest, but the primate has actually been sighted across most of the United States and has been so frequent around the Pikes Peak area of Colorado that the state installed a warning sign on the highway up to the summit of the mountain.
There's a frightening snow beast that's been stalking the Colorado Rockies.
I'd never seen anything like I saw that day.
Eyewitnesses claim that the massive creature has a bellowing scream and no fear of humans.
This thing comes at you, you may only have one shot.
The monster is said to be hunting elk and other animals in the area.
One claw mark on one horse that drew blood.
It's unknown to me of any type of animal that lives in this region that would make those types of tracks.
There's no bears in this area that would go 800 to 1,000 pounds.
Colorado. This wilderness paradise is dominated by the Rocky Mountains, the world's largest elk population, and something else. A large, terrifying, hairy creature said to prowl these majestic mountains looking for prey.
I know what the animals sound like here, and this is nothing like I've ever heard.
Once I saw the tracks, I started to get that feeling like something might be watching me.
I mean, this thing raised up out of the beaver pond, stood on two legs, and looked right at me.
You know, there are things in this world you can't put a scientific explanation to, and this is one.
Researcher Keith Foster has followed sightings in the area for over 15 years. Foster has cataloged over 100 reports of the creature, the largest concentration of which are centered near Pikes Peak, a part of the Rocky Mountain Range 50 miles from the population center of Colorado Springs. These photos were taken on the mountain at about 10,400 and 11,000 feet. They're part of a rash of recent sightings in the area.
The tracks themselves are very large, and the step lengths are between 4 and 7 feet long, and so they're easy to identify because nothing else leaves tracks like these in nature.
Foster believes that these could be the tracks of the elusive beast. Keith Foster believes it is not coincidence that the creature was seen near the elk.
We have quite a few indications that Sasquatch are actually a predator, and that's a niche that is open in Colorado. A predator of elk would naturally follow the elk and have to prey on them, but still stay away from them enough not to run their food source completely away.
Foster contends that the creature migrates with the elk throughout the Rocky Mountain Range. He says that this is why the tracks appear to move seasonally. However, to date, no solid research has been done.
They're very interesting to take a look at the number of sightings that he's been able to document.
Chris Markison is GIS manager for Pueblo County, Colorado, and will use the science of computerized mapping called the Geographic Information System, or GIS. It will allow the team to clearly see sighting patterns.
What we're able to do with GIS is to take complicated amounts of information, essentially in database form, and project that in a three-dimensional view or in a map-based view to allow us to do informed decision-making and identify geospatial relationships between seemingly disparate objects. Dots basically represent each of the alleged sightings.
Yeah, clearly the species is concentrating in the mountain areas, especially in that central area is really the highest wilderness areas in Colorado, and there is a little bit of spread to the west onto some of the more high plateau areas that are also still very remote. It would appear that up here in Routt County, as well as down Teller County, and then a little bit down in the San Juan Mountains there, those are all wilderness areas, but what's interesting is it's towards the edge of the wilderness. So that would make sense because you'd have more people in those areas that might have sightings, but yet there's enough remote area that sightings would not be frequent.
The initial analysis reveals that half the sightings fall between October and April. This would seem to rule out one plausible scenario of what could be preying on the elk: misidentified bears.
If people were mistaking Bigfoot sightings for bears, there's a bit of an issue if they're seeing them during the winter because bears should be hibernating.
Of the sightings to show where things were beginning and the earliest sightings were and how they've progressed over time.
So it would appear to you that the sightings have moved further into the wilderness area as if it's moving away from the population center of humans.
That's exactly what I want to do, to take a look at and see is, as Colorado Springs has grown, the number of sightings that people have seen seem to correlate directly with going further into the forest.
Yeah, and that would certainly correlate with the historical range of the grizzly bear that we looked at recently. As people moved across Colorado, the bear receded.
Recently in La Junta, Colorado, an elf or alien or, well, I'll let you decide.
It's the creepy video that freaked everyone out.
I'm honestly just kind of scared.
The creature was captured back in June on a motion sensor camera outside a home in La Junta, Colorado. Definitely not human, wrote one mystified observer. Lots of people think it looked like Dobby, the beloved elf from the Harry Potter movies.
Dobby is free.
Good morning.
As everybody knows, there was an alien sighting in La Junta this weekend.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, dude. So
this ain't something to mess around with.
Apparently, there was a local resident who shared a video that came out of her security camera that showed an alien-looking something or another.
The fun part about this is I guess sometimes when you start something in a small town, it's like people talk because it's just fun.
I'm gonna go buy a bunch of foil so we can start making hats.
Okay, fine. All right, now I've got a roll of tin foil, so I think I'm safe. Thanks for the call. All right, there we go.
Some prehistoric or dinosaur-like creatures have been spotted in the air, land, and water of Colorado. And if you consider the state's ancient history, that might actually be feasible. Millions of years ago, Colorado was populated with dinosaurs. During one phase of that era, a sea cut right through the state, giving aquatic dinosaurs access to Colorado. Though quite unlikely, it is theoretically possible that some life has survived in Colorado and continued to evolve for the past 65 million years. It's already happened before. In 1938, a living prehistoric coelacanth was captured. This aquatic life form was previously assumed extinct millions of years ago. And there have been consistent reports of a brontosaurus-type dinosaur in the African Congo for more than the past century. And even reports of dinosaurs in South America. So perhaps Colorado is the lost world of North America. From Nessie and Loch Ness, to Champ and Lake Champlain, to Ogopogo. The world seems to be full of lake monsters, and Colorado is no exception. In Twin Lakes, Colorado, there have been consistent reports of a violent sea serpent attacking fishermen. In 1881, Herman Wolf and his grandson were out on a boat when witnesses on the shore noticed them get knocked out of their boat by something, and the men never resurfaced. Rescue attempts never found any bodies. In 1884, James Powell was fishing on the bank when he reported seeing a large serpent head come out of the water. A luxury resort only accessible by steamboat was built on the lake. But one steamboat christened the Dauntless was struck by the beast and quickly sank. Before we knew what a pterodactyl or pterosaur was, there were Native American legends along with eyewitness reports all over the American West of thunderbirds. The occasional sightings of thunderbirds still occur today. In 2008, a man in Golden, Colorado, reported seeing a pterosaur flying overhead, attacking another bird in mid-flight. There are these little dog-sized raptors I've heard referred to as compies, but they've been spotted all over western Colorado. The first documented sighting was in Pagosa Springs in 1930. A few years later, a sheep rancher reported killing one that was attacking his herd. They were spotted as far east as Pueblo, but usually stay near the Colorado River area. It is interesting that this same area has a town named Dinosaur, Colorado. All of the north and south streets have dinosaur names. I'm Benjamin Willis. Thanks for watching.